界本部司令第129号 Die!
Welcome back to another episode of The Harbor. I'm your host, the Kino Cowboy, and I'm with my boys, Scott Keith, Austin Casher. As usual, today we're talking about something very close to the Kino Cowboy heart, 1954's Godzilla, the ultimate kaiju. No one beats him. No one has ever beaten him yet.
You could almost call him the king of the monsters.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Now, funny enough, this version I didn't see until 2016 because of the one I rented as a kid was that stupid American version from 1956.
Yeah,
sorry, there's nothing stupid that comes out of America. Just to let you know.
Okay.
Really, aren't you American? Oh,
all right. Goodbye, guys. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
And now, yeah,
but no, I had the same experience. I rented this from Hastings. Callback, back in the day, and when I was a kid, and I remember being kind of confused at the American version. I mean, because I guess I had thought, I don't know, that it would be like all the others I had seen that were dubbed. But no, they completely reshot it, basically, and just spliced in additional scenes and dubbed over some other things. So in my adulthood, I am not a Godzilla freak quite like you, Adrian, but I was thinking about it while I was watching the Japanese version for the first time last night, which I've been putting off. Also, I kind of already...
You'd never seen the original?
Nope.
Or you've only... Wow, okay.
I had seen the American version. I'd seen Godzilla King of the Monsters, but I had not seen Gojira.
Yeah, fair.
But I was thinking last night that Godzilla's very central to me as a film goer and as a film fan. And in my adulthood, I'm not quite the fanatic. Haven't you seen every Godzilla film, Adrian?
Yes, for those who are unaware, Godzilla became one of my special interests in 2018 when I watched them all chronologically, because it was one of those things where there's something that just sometimes some interests from childhood lie dormant for a while, and then suddenly you're like, oh yeah, I really like this. Why did I stop doing this? And it was one of those things where in third grade, I was friends with a guy named Drew Benefield, which y'all might know from Smash tournaments. And he had all these VHS tapes, Godzilla tapes at his house. And that's where I learned that monster movies were sick. And we watched, like, he had a lot of he had a lot of Showa tapes. He also had some 90s Godzilla tapes. So mostly I grew up with, at first was Godzilla versus Gigan, which had Ghidorah in it. So I knew who Ghidorah was, but I never watched the original Ghidorah movie until this Chrono watch. And then that one, and then the 90s Mechagodzilla, which is still like a top 3 of my favorites today, and a few others. And I was like, well, this is awesome, but finding these tapes elsewhere was hard, and the video stores I would go to really they had like this American King of the Monsters originally, and then they would have like the 98 Matthew Broderick, and they had, let's see,
I remember renting Monster Zero. I owned Godzilla versus King Kong versus Godzilla. I owned Biollante versus Ghidorah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I grew up watching these. They're central to my identity. I cried like a baby in Godzilla 98, not because of the quality of the movie like most people, but because of Godzilla, spoiler.
Yeah. See, my full introduction to this was going to the theater to see Godzilla 98 when I was 4 years old.
And how did you
being terrified?
No, I cried because they hurt Godzilla.
Yeah, see, I was scared shitless out of Godzilla. Kind of stayed away from her because there was a girl in that one.
It's more of a they them, a Zerzilla, if you
that
will.
didn't exist then.
Yeah, the one I rented the most as a kid, because it was always at the I think it was either Movie Gallery or Hastings or something, but it was Godzilla 1985.
I watched that one, yeah,
which was the 90s kind of reboot sequel to the original, ignoring all of the original Showa pictures. And that's when he finally got his redesign. And it's another Godzilla destroying cities and stuff, but it was that much better to me. Like, I love this one too, but 1985, which was the American version, just like I'm reading that one a lot. And then that one and Mothra, I watched a lot.
Oh, yeah, I watch a lot of Mothra.
But
I also really liked what is it? All Monsters Attack with the kid. I like that one, which is garbage in hindsight.
I actually like that more than most people, because honestly, it's kind of cool that it's the whole movie's just him imagining a way to defeat his bullies, but he's on Monster Island with like Godzilla and his son.
I really only think I've seen about 5 or 6 of these.
Yeah.
I've seen the OG one. I've seen Final Wars, Shin Godzilla, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and Destroy All Monsters.
I realized I had seen none of the Millennium era beginning to end. I don't think.
Oh man,
I've seen plenty of the Showa and Heisei or however you say it, and I've seen Shin Godzilla. And in a couple weeks, we're seeing
not in a couple weeks, in 2 fucking days.
3 days.
2 days? That's this week? Oh my god!
That's on Wednesday, my man.
No, I remember it was December 6th, but we're getting it early, dude.
I highly recommend taking an edible before you watch any Godzilla movies.
Yeah, I fucking bet.
It was a lot of fun. That was my first time doing that.
Dude, Shin Godzilla is great and probably maybe my favorite one.
Shin Godzilla? Yeah, it's absolutely my favorite one.
I have a specific memory. I remember in 5th grade renting Godzilla 98, watching it and being disappointed. And then the most Adrian thing I could have done was I took it out and I stuck in the original American version original. And I was like, I'm going to watch this one now because I like this one. And so, I've been an OG since the beginning.
An original Godzilla.
And you were telling me right before this that Roger Ebert gave it a 1.5, which is shocking.
He gave the original Japanese Gojira when it finally came to the States in like 2004.
They did like recuts on it and things like that when they initially.
The original movie, the one that I watched on Max last night, he gave a 1.5 star.
Well, glad he's rotting in hell.
Okay. Now we respect Roger Ebert around here, but
we pray, we follow one God, and that's Zilla.
It's Richard Roper. No.
Well, listen, I am not with this movie is not beyond reproach for me. It's not beyond criticism for me. I think a lot of the characters are underwritten. The special effects, honestly, in King Kong 20 years prior is probably better.
I disagree with that one. These fucking held up hella for me on my TV, I guess.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I was also stoned off my fucking dick though.
Yeah,
but it was I wrote like the first scene where you see Godzilla pop his head up over that fucking mountain. I was just like, oh yeah.
the effects vary.
I was like right as that edible kicked in is when that head popped over, and I went, this was a good decision.
Yeah.
No, dude. Everything when he's actually attacking Tokyo, that looks good. The suit looks great in black and white. It looks menacing to this day.
Parts of it. How? There's some parts where it feels very much like car, and I'm fine with it. I'm just saying, there are parts of it where it seems very much like cardboard buildings or very much like toy planes on a string.
It didn't feel like that for me, honestly.
Or very much, the worst thing, and I remember this from a kid, is the helicopter when it blows over on the rock, and it's that toy helicopter.
Yes, this is a 1950s monster movie. They don't have the effects of today.
I personally thought that
it's a bizarre thing to try and criticize.
I think in the context of the time, maybe it could have been better.
I think maybe if they would have done it like they did the black and white, and they also did it at pretty dark hours, like there's a lot of shadow on the face of Godzilla and things like that. Maybe if they would have done it in like the lighter mood, like the rest of the film is practically in. But nah, that scene fucking rules.
No, I'm not saying it's like that's just I meant
Hey,
that to
hey,
be a
Scott, why
sentence.
don't you do it better?
I meant that to be a one sentence bringing it up. All I meant to say was like, compared to King Kong, I'm less impressed with the special effects.
Yeah, it
Maybe
sounds like you're a real patriot.
I prefer
The
Godzilla.
the sure I see like the monster effects on Monster Island being cool, stop motion, but like King Kong looks like for the time, he looks fine, but
And he's like, I like the design. I love the original design too, because it does look less, dinosaur-y and more just like sludgy monster reptile thing.
Yeah,
Like
more
nuclear
reptilian.
monster.
He has the keloid scars. That's his
Yeah.
scales. They look like the scars that the Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Which I like. I mean, that's like the main focus of the film is. Oh, I'm not gonna do the accent. Never mind.
this isn't South Park.
I know. It's just like the whole thing is hydrogen bombs bad. Hydrogen bombs
very blatantly. It's not even subtext.
Yeah, no. I mean, would you not? I mean, I think most of Japanese cinema, after like the bombs were dropped, has a heavy focus on it. I mean, decades later, like we have Akira. In the end, is just that it's like they've been traumatized by it and will always be like a major focal point for their culture and film for decades to come.
Well, they're dealing with it, and it's just part of their history now. I think they also have dealt with imperialism, both defending from and attacking imperialism, and so there's the invasion aspect, there's the environmental aspect. And one of the beautiful things about Godzilla is that he is an archetypal monster, being the king of the monsters. So he's whatever the filmmaker needs them to be, whether that's pollution in versus the smog monster, or Hedorah, or in the MonsterVerse, it's very much climate change, Hurricane Katrina imagery, or like the Fukushima disaster in Shin Godzilla. He can be all of those things and more.
That's true.
And I don't know what he's in -1 because I have intentionally not seen anything from it. I'm gonna see it. I want to see Godzilla tear stuff up and wreck it.
I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be a COVID metaphor.
We have him as a force of nature and destruction. We also have the Godzilla who is the hero of Earth. I enjoy both versions for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this film is, sacred in monster movie land, but despite this, when I go to Godzilla, I'm often looking for the more schlocky, stupid, insane kind of monster fights. So I'm not going to just try and act like this is my favorite Godzilla movie because it's not. But if it is your favorite, congrats, you have the correct opinion according to most people. But for me, it'd probably be Godzilla versus Hedorah, or Mechagodzilla 2 from the 90s, or I really like Mothra Battle for Earth, stuff like that.
What's your favorite, Scott?
I don't know, because so many of them I have not seen in years and years since I was even a kid.
Like I said, I've only seen 5, and I'm going to base it off the 5.
I've seen several Godzilla movies. It's a tie-up between 98 and no. It's I really have no idea. I really liked Mechagodzilla. I forget which one.
Yeah, fair. But
that's I will. And also, I wasn't on edibles then, and I wasn't during.
The way to get on edibles
is definitely the most historically significant. It's an important film. Period. Bart, stop. Full stop.
Yeah, I have a fondness for anything Hideki Anno touches, and Shin Godzilla.
Oh, sure, yeah,
is the goat for me.
No,
but
that is probably my favorite. Now,
but Final Wars is also fucking up there.
Yeah.
I was just saying, you guys got in. Like, I just want to briefly. I was telling Adrian and Scott last night. It's like makes me want to watch fucking all of these. Watching
I'd
this
like
one
to make
last
you
night.
a list of all the best ones, and you could ignore some of the.
Well, it's like
more
I've watched probably 1,000 hours worth of fucking Super Sentai series. So if you guys ever want to get into that, there's where
I'm good.
that's where mine gets into. It's fun,
I'm
dude.
okay.
It's
That's fine.
flamboyant.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers on this cast.
It's Super Sentai. Get it
It's
right.
it's based off Super Sentai.
Yeah, well, I think when you watch this movie, it's fun and also kind of almost necessary to approach the movie with like the perspective that this is the first Godzilla movie and that the viewer may not know exactly what Godzilla is and what he's capable of. And that's part of the mystery of what's going on, because back then, this lead up to the reveal of the monsters is still pretty fresh idea. And that's part of the fun of it, is that
very Jaws-esque.
Yeah, it's like we see when we first see the stuff at the beginning, we don't even see him destroy anything. And when we finally do get a glimpse of him, it's just his head over the mountains,
which rules.
And then the next shot, it's like further and further on, we get more and more of his body. And then like the next time, it's like half of his body in the water with those people on that boat, and while they're eating and having a good time. And then finally you get the full body shot when he's destroying Tokyo. And I like that it's that, build up. And you were talking about Hideaki Anno. His movie Shin Godzilla is like the closest we've had since in the last 60 plus years to be in line with what this movie is, because this movie shows it does a great job of showing different areas of Japan, different kinds of people reacting in different ways. It makes Japan feel interconnected, which becomes its own character, which is purposeful because it represents the grief and the problems they've had after Hiroshima and Nagasaki, obviously. And so hearing scenes of them discuss, like the older folks discussing what Godzilla may be like and what he used to be like. Apparently he's just a myth. That the old timers talking about him in the old days, about how fishermen would run out of fish to catch, and that's how they thought it was a sign that he was coming to kill him. And one even talks about how they have like a woman sacrifice for him, which is kind of like, King Kong. This is not stuff that happens in any other Godzilla movie, because all the other Godzilla movies are sequels to this movie. Or, even Return of Godzilla in 1985 or 1984, rather, aka Godzilla 1985, is a sequel to this movie, despite Godzilla dying at the end of this movie, which people probably don't realize. If you haven't seen this one, Godzilla does die. They always just consider, it's another Godzilla, because it's kind of set up in this movie like, this could create a new one at the end, which is like the reason why there's so many sequels.
Right. It's one of those where they obviously do it for social commentary of, if we continue with atom bomb, H-bomb testing, then more horrors could arise with nuclear testing. But it conveniently was sequel bait at the same time.
Which is
and Godzilla is a weird franchise to me, like that they did have to reappropriate this villain and this horror monster, king of the monsters, that represents all their sins and the id, and now he's a hero and he's saving people. And I don't know, maybe, and this is reaching, it's a lot like how a lot of their power is nuclear generated now, which was actually part of what led to Shin Godzilla, Fukushima, yada yada. It's
I do have to ask, it's assumed that like Godzilla didn't look like this before the bombs, right? Like, it wasn't necessarily, but it's like he was always been around. But he's
been around for a long time.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but
a lot of people
it depends on the movie you watch. In 91's Ghidorah, it actually has like a time travel plot, and they go back and they see what Godzilla looked like before nuclear radiation or whatever, and he just looks like pretty much like a normal dinosaur.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then this radiation kind of fucked up his.
So it's kind of up to your
stuff.
interpretation.
Well, it's like I know a lot of people have always explained it as like, oh, it was created by the bomb itself, but it's
I think he was at least mutated because he has the radioactive breath. I think that's got to be
yeah, which is one of the coolest things in any movie ever. I just like for all the faults of 2014 Godzilla. I just remember being in the theater, I think with you, Scott, and it had been so long since I had seen a Godzilla movie that when he like powered up that first time to fight the Mutos, I was like, oh shit, this is what I've been missing.
Yeah, and they really build up to that moment, and it's a good moment. That movie has its problems. Pretty much every Godzilla movie, almost.
Every Gareth Edwards movie has its problems.
Well, every Gareth Edwards movie has its problems. I like the creator. I didn't love it.
Right, yeah.
But all the human characters in Godzilla movies are almost always just whatever. They're there for the plot because you can't have a movie with just Godzilla, but I want to see them try.
Well, Final Wars solved this in 2004 when they decided we're going to end it all and go as crazy as possible. Instead of having a boring side plot of humans figuring stuff out, they said, what if we made the humans do crazy Matrix style gun fu and ride on motorcycles and shoot and stuff? And so not only we got Godzilla fighting every kaiju that's ever been made, we also have guys running on walls, shooting guns and stuff using samurai swords on aliens and stuff. It's awesome.
It's an achievement in cinema.
Cody watched that for the first time a few months ago, and he's like, what have I been missing all my life? I was like, yeah. What's funny, too, is like Godzilla had the sequel, Godzilla Raids Again, 1 year after it, and then there wasn't another one for 8 years, which is we go back now, and when you watch movies chronological order, you don't think about how long, 8 years doesn't seem that much when you're going from 55 to 63. But I mean, that for us, that's like 8 years ago was when The Force Awakens came out. That was a long time ago. And so that's kind of wild that it took that long.
What Marvel movie came out 8 years ago?
Civil
Star
War.
Wars and Marvel. We got to get Star Wars and Marvel in this.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's surprising it took 8 years to come back with another sequel. And but yeah. And it's also funny that Ishirō Honda, director of this one, he made such a bleak and serious movie, but when he came back, he did several sequels, and he made they're all just campy nonsense. And I'm surprised that he was just like, fuck it. But
right,
yeah.
he's kind of
awesome.
He's still an animalistic. He's not full hero Godzilla High Sierra yet.
No, that takes place over sometime. There's the first, like, so it's this movie and then Raids Again, which you can skip Raids Again, that's pointless. Then he fights King Kong and they're both terrorizing, and then he fights Mothra and he's still terrorizing. But then when King Ghidorah comes around, him and Mothra and Rodan team up to fight Ghidorah. And that's the first time he's kind of like, okay, fine, I'll fight this guy because I don't like him either.
He's chaotic neutral, sort of.
And then he fights Ibira, which is this lobster monster, and that was supposed to be a King Kong movie, I'm pretty sure. And then there's Son of Godzilla, and then after that is Destroy All Monsters, which these alien guys are trying to take over Earth, and it's really boring, aggressively boring movie, and you have to fast forward to the last 20 minutes, otherwise you're just gonna be bored to tears. That's what sucks, is that one is like that did the Avengers shit before anyone else in like 1968 or whatever, and they're like, okay, we're gonna have all the monsters fucking brawl it out, send King Ghidorah away for good, and that'll be the end of it. And that's when Godzilla became the defender of Earth. So of course after that they decided, well, we can't let him go on that long without another Godzilla movie, right? And that's when you get that Godzilla's Revenge or whatever that you like with the kid with his imagination. And that was like so stupid that it made people step back and be like, what are we doing? This is so far gone from what the original was like. And so when they came back with Hedorah in 71. That's why I like Hedorah so much, is because they're like, okay, we're going to give him like, he's going to be the hero of Earth now, but we're still going to make it like, instead of, nuclear fallout kind of thing, we're going to do a environmental kind of thing. And it completely refreshed the character and did it in a style that was like still fun and kind of silly, but still kind of grotesque. And so that's why Hedorah is really my favorite. But like I said, I do enjoy Hero of Earth, but this one is just so gnarly. I like what I was trying to say before is that no other Godzilla movie gets this level of people around Japan connecting and talking about what might happen. Specifically the scenes where they're in the
courtroom,
like conference room or whatever, and they're trying to decide what to do about him and stuff.
Should we tell about Godzilla?
Those were severely cut down in the American version, like bad.
All the political stuff was.
I appreciated having those in there, especially like getting to know like more of it makes Godzilla seem more sinister too, because you're hearing, there's now 9 boats, there's 17 people that have died, or 17 houses that have been destroyed, 9 people have died, and you're like hearing his victim count go up and up, and hearing people around you like debate and be like, you kind of see like, oh, not just America would hide this, like Japan's gonna hide it too.
Right. And I do think it's funny. They do the general public and everybody, you can tell that they are not in their post-truth era and that people actually trust the media and the government. Because whenever they start reporting there's a giant dinosaur, with radioactive breath destroying Shibuya, everybody's like, yeah, okay, we believe you.
The inner workings of the government, and as well as the interactions of different Japanese people throughout this movie, is why basically what I was saying earlier is that's why Shin Godzilla is the closest one we have to this kind of formula. Even though in Shin Godzilla it's less of a mystery, but it's pretty close and it's cool. Because of course Hideaki Anno he likes the war room kind of thing. If you've seen Evangelion, you'll understand that. It even uses some of the same music from Evangelion, which is funny. But
and there's the sense of Japanese unity because they're having to look in the supply chain at all these manufacturers of whatever they use, nitrous or whatever to attack them. They give them a bunch of whippets.
We're gonna get Godzilla high as fuck.
But also it's funny because like I do like the escalation of and some of them, Godzilla's wreaked so much havoc that it's like they know what to do, they're prepared. And like even in the Monarch show, they have like a system in place in Tokyo and shit now. And it's just interesting to see like a whole like economy, a sector of the economy is probably based off of Godzilla attacks, different insurances, different like
honestly, it's like that's kind of like what Hideaki Anno does though, especially like New Tokyo era shit. You look at like Evangelion and you've got fucking cities being sucked into the ground to protect people.
Tokyo 3 was rebuilt to be able to go down
a fucking battleground essentially. Like they're able to like shoot up walls for fucking Avas to run through and shit. Yeah, dude. I hope we get a disaster that lets like New York become that.
You want a full on? You want a bigger military industrial complex? Is what you're saying?
Just for New York,
for the Yankees.
What's funny is in the original Godzilla is only 165 feet tall.
Now what is he now?
More than double that. And he's now right.
Yeah. Well, look up how much he is in the MonsterVerse.
No.
Okay, well then
MonsterVerse.
He's about double that. I don't know the exact number, but
fucking he's huge. How is he in how big is he in -1?
I don't know. Well, they'll probably say. I don't know. I don't want to look up anything about that movie.
No, I don't care.
Just
I'll see it when I see it.
The Inspector Gadget film had Robo Gadget attacking San Francisco, a la kaiju monsters.
Okay.
Yeah, technically Godzilla, people always equate Mechagodzilla, being like the first kind of thing like that, but it's not. because in 1967 there was actually a Robo Mecha Kong in a King Kong Escapes, but it's not nearly as good as Mecha Godzilla. It's actually kind of a disappointing movie. Who would have thought, right? No,
I was about to say, what were your expectations going in?
To be more interesting than
At least some campy fun and not just boredom. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I do like. Of course, so we get our characters. We get the main Serizawa,
who's my favorite character in the most
who's like a mad scientist of sorts. We've got the professor who doesn't want Godzilla killed, which is kind of looked over in the American version.
Yeah, and it's also he's like, we should study it, and I'm like, how like, what are you gonna do?
I get that. But yeah, Monarch does a good job of replicating that, like, we should study Godzilla kind of scientist kind of character. I like that actually a lot.
I haven't got to see Monarch yet. I'm probably gonna watch that soon.
We've got Ogata, and then we've got his girlfriend who he wants to marry, and then her dad is the professor who's against killing it. And of course, Ogata's like, well, if we can kill it, we can kill it. And of course, in the American version, we've got Raymond Burr playing Steve Martin, or Steve Martin playing Raymond Burr, and Raymond
Burr playing Steve Martin.
Yeah, either way. Yeah, Raymond Burr's a fuck because he's inserted in all these shots, and it's like, oh, this is all centralized American narrative, clearly. So, and if you watch the scenes that he's been like reshot to be inserted into, it's like he's in all these places, and he's not making that much of an impact, but he's there, so it's okay.
He's there as a journalist character to report to the audience what's happening.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how stupid American audiences were back then. They couldn't do a movie with only Japanese people, or even dubbing was too cheesy. So
yeah, even just dubbing would be too far, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I like is that this is a very serious film, but it gets kind of silly, goofy when it gets into the Serizawa stuff, because it's like, okay, this guy is just coming up with this secret oxygen destroyer in like his basement, like a mad scientist. It's not like he's like at some research facility or anything. He's
he's an independent scientist / war veteran,
he lost his eye in the war, which is important because
that is important. He lost his eye in the war.
He does look fucking cool.
He has a guilty conscience from the war.
Yeah.
As Japanese society did.
And he's getting his bitch taken. I didn't mean to say bitch like that. That sounded really rude. His
apologize to women. Apologize to all women.
Sorry, all women.
Yeah, dude. It's just funny because when you finally see him showing what's her name? I forgot.
Emiko.
Emiko. When he shows Emiko the oxygen destroyer, suddenly there's like a canted angle and like this like dramatic lighting, and it suddenly feels like a 30s like Universal horror movie or something. And she like screams in terror.
She screams in terror over some dead fish. I'm like, do you not eat fish?
Now, to be fair, if they were alive 1 second, 2 seconds later they were all bones, I'd be like, what the fuck, dude?
How do they turn into bones? The oxygen destroys a real Deus Ex Machina. Really.
Oxygen. If you take out oxygen in the planet, you're gonna lose your skin and organs, everything like that instantly.
I don't think that's how that works.
Why don't you test it, dude?
It does in this movie.
What if it's
okay? For the listeners, that was holding in my breath. That was the joke.
You don't.
How do you think of Ogata and Yamane as characters? And Emiko, sorry.
It's fine. It's more interesting than a lot of other things.
Godzilla
it's kind of just it's less important than a normal kind of narrative, because really we're going from scene to scene. We're kind of observing with these journalists and also like reporters and everything that's going on in like the conference rooms and stuff. It's kind of just like observing from multiple angles. So their relationship doesn't really matter to me that much. And
the characters, those two in particular, are very bland to me.
yeah,
Do any of these characters carry on in the series?
no.
Because there's actors...
Raymond Burr is in Godzilla 1985.
Oh,
It's like the guy who plays Ogata. He's also in Final Wars.
yeah, but he's not the same guy.
Yeah, but it's like
Cameo
that's
sort
what
of
I'm
thing.
wondering. I know it's not. It's like it doesn't. I'm just curious why they didn't continue on with some of the characters. I don't know.
Honestly, the characters that carry over the most are whatever actors are in the Godzilla suit.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
get that.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
what
which apparently was super hot, and he could only be in it like for 3 minutes at a time.
Well, yeah, that's like
Wow.
what I wonder if they made it waterproof and like fireproof.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely waterproof.
Yeah, the radioactive breath is real.
Is it not?
It's just funny because like when I showed this, Matt and Justin were like, "Yeah, let's watch Godzilla," and then they had never seen the original, and so they were expecting a campy, silly, stupid kind of movie, and it gets real serious. And they were both kind of afterwards like, "Whoa, that was kind of heavy." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, you didn't ask to watch, you know,
What's the one with Babe
Megalon or something,
What's the one with Baby Godzilla?
Son of Godzilla."
And all monsters attack.
Oh, well, yeah.
Manila, like the city in the Philippines.
Yeah, his name's Manila, yeah.
Okay, like Manila wafer.
Yeah. Or in the 90s ones, he's referred to as Baby.
But this movie, I was thinking about that the entire time because this movie is obviously very successful, spawned a franchise, one of the longest running film franchises there is.
69 years.
Yeah, almost 70 years.
Yeah.
That's an old lady, dude.
Still going
But
strong.
seeing the newsreel sort of presentation and the documentary presentation and seeing the devastation on screen, I can only imagine really affected their psyche. Because in a much lesser sense, for example, Gareth Edwards' 2014 Godzilla tried to do that with Katrina imagery, and even that was somewhat unsettling. And Katrina, while obviously terrible, I did not leave the psychic impact that two nuclear bombs, which were completely unexplained when they were dropped, what was happening. I wish it was a bit more ingrained in our conscious, because before long we're going to have entire sectors of the economy to fight off Godzilla attacks, i.e. climate change. That's already happened.
Just in New York, though.
Just in New York.
And then that's the thing, because the terror is devastating and it's mesmerizing. And when he's attacking Tokyo, you get a lot of Godzilla and you get a lot of him just attacking and destroying stuff, which a lot of the sequels, they try to intercut with boring human crap that I don't care about. And I understand might be important technically to the plot, but like they really, once they build up to it, they really let it go. And like, okay, here's 15 minutes of Godzilla doing, this is it. He's a terror. He's a force of nature. He cannot be stopped. And I like that they set that up in this movie. Like they pretty much say like, it's impossible to kill him. Like they do kill him, but like only because this guy was holding out on the secret oxygen destroyer technology.
The secret Deus Ex Machina unobtainium.
But it's like, bring back this horror and terror. Like,
no, it needs to be horror, and that's where this differs from other kaiju movies.
Yeah,
is the simplest way to say is that other kaiju movies are adventure movies. This is a horror movie. First and foremost,
I think -1 will probably.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm like hoping -1 brings back that like terrorizing kind of thing.
Godzilla's fucking disgusting, but like,
yeah,
it's not.
I don't know if
like
aesthetically I would call it horror.
Yeah, no, it's more like, about the bureaucratic inside machinations of the.
I know as fuck.
Yeah, exactly. It's more.
But -1, I've probably looked into it a little bit more than you guys have, just because I wanted to see like more about it, and you guys are like worried about spoilers. But I've seen like it looks scary. Like
good.
And
this is the only Godzilla movie because I think it's called -1 because it takes place before the, original one and even came out, post World War II. So
Well, it's like I'm looking
We've
at
never
like
seen
the
that before.
timelines and like the eras. This one's part of the Reiwa era, which the only other live action one they have is Shin Godzilla.
Well, yeah, that's more of like a
like a one-off.
Just like an era, like because
within the franchise, but not within the franchise timeline.
Okay, that's why I was wondering where -1 would be.
Now it's different because in the original Showa series, the original Godzilla is like he dies at the end, and then all the Godzilla after that who shows up and raids again, and Mothra and so on and so forth is like the same guy, and that follows the same Godzilla up until 1974 with Terror of Mechagodzilla, and that ends with him just walking back into the ocean from whence he came, and that's kind of like this nice little poetic bow on it. It's like, yeah, we've made 14 of these goddamn movies, like that's it. And then the Godzilla that comes back in Godzilla Returns, aka Godzilla 1985, is a sequel to 54, and that Godzilla goes through and that follows a plot, and then he has the son of Godzilla, and then the only other time Godzilla's ever died in the entire series of 30 plus movies is at the end of the 90s series with Destroya, and his son is left behind and he sacrifices himself to save his son. It's actually pretty gnarly death too, and that made headlines at the time. It was like Godzilla's actually apparently going to die in this movie. I don't know why they spoiled it, but it was like part of the marketing effort, like Godzilla, death of Godzilla,
death of Godzilla,
death of Superman, sort of
which
thing.
is cool, like, but yeah, so they both follow their own plots, but it changed with the Millennium series because several of them, the Ghidorah one and Biollante, they were all their own, or not Biollante, sorry, what's it called? GMK, aka Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, All Monsters, whatever it's called. It's like a long ass fucking title, but that serves as its own reboots. And then
is it Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters,
All Out Attack, which is the longest goddamn. That's its own reboot. Shut up, my cat's being loud. And then the Megaguirus and Godzilla 2000, all three of those are their own reboot continuations, have no continuity. So it's kind of
like looking at the posters for a lot of the Millennium ones, it looks like the Reiwa era or the newest.
The best Millennium era ones are the only two that have continuity are Godzilla Against Mechagodzilla, which is one of my like top 5, and then the one right after it, which it's like a 2-parter, Tokyo SOS, which those are awesome.
Final Wars is after,
and then
that.
Final Wars is like its own thing. It's like a celebration of the franchise.
Well, it's like I'm looking at the 3 anime series that they made.
Fuck all that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard they're really good. The animated series, are they not?
Dude, those Netflix CGI movies suck.
Like them? Yeah.
They're terrible.
I hate those
3D
anime stuff. It's gotten better. We've talked about this, I think, before, Casher, but there's only a few Dragon's Dogma show and that crap. No.
Yeah, there's only a few 3D animated anime I'm gonna watch.
The only good one is SD Gundam.
Those movies,
I don't know. Gantz is pretty sick. Gantz is fucking disgusting.
Now that they had the Godzilla anime Singular Point like a year or two ago, and that was one of the most dense, convoluted, stupid fucking shows I've ever seen. I turned that shit off after like 5 episodes.
How do you make it's Godzilla? How do you make it convoluted? It's a giant monster.
They tried to do like beyond Neon Genesis level of like pseudoscience with crap, but it doesn't make any sense, and it's all just trying to be.
You act like Neon Genesis science makes sense.
It does when you have watched it a lot and have pieced it together, and how everything at Nerve headquarters works and all the stuff. Yeah, it's not hard to if you've watched it more than one time, but this is just like beyond, and it's lousy writing. Do not watch Singular Point. It's a waste of fucking time. You're just gonna get mad. I know you, Casher. But anyway, the singular point I assume has no continuity, and since it's before even the original, maybe it's who knows. I mean, not singular point, -1. Anyway, I think the hardest fucking, because we were talking about how Godzilla is invincible, so yeah, he's only died twice in 30 plus movies, and that's why it's so devastating. And I love it's got one of the hardest lines of all time. And it's let's see, I put it somewhere, and let's see, I forgot where I put it. Damn, I wrote it down somewhere. Oh yeah, it's killing him is impossible. Godzilla was baptized in the fires of the H-bomb and he survived.
Yeah.
So it's like there's nothing you can do. And that's what I like
Line
about
rules, though. I will say that every Godzilla film ever made in Japan has like the best posters ever.
I know.
Like
Yeah,
every single poster rules.
Except for Godzilla versus Megalon, which inexplicably
I'm
has
looking
him
at it.
fighting on top of the Twin Towers, which is not anywhere near this movie. They don't even go to America in Megalon. Why they
Is
put
that
him
just
on?
for the American poster or for the Japanese poster?
I don't know, but like I think it might be for America, which is bizarre.
When did that
'Cause
last? I'm looking at it right now.
They never go to America in that one.
The
So
one I'm showing doesn't have Twin Towers on it.
look it up, Bookworm. Godzilla versus Megalon.
I'm on. Yeah, they're not on the Twin Towers.
I'll send it to you.
I'm looking at it. It doesn't look like it might be looking. Yeah, it just looks like it just looks like a city they're fighting on. And it's got like jet jaguar flying through the air and
It's the first thing that comes up, dude.
Oh, I'm on the Wikipedia page. I don't think they use that.
Nah, dude. I'll send
What do
it.
you think of the characterization of Godzilla in this movie?
I think he's just more of a force of nature, consequences of nuclear bombs. So
Do you think he's sympathetic?
no, I don't.
Not at all.
Okay, I found the one that has the Twin Towers.
Oh yeah, his
Sorry.
death is weirdly sad despite all of this, because like he is a force of nature, so it could be like environmental in a way of like
Last
You know
of the
what?
species.
You know what kind of sad it is? Is like if you ever played Shadow of the Colossus
Yes.
and you're killing the Colossi, and you finish, and you're like, there's none left. It's killing an enigma that is like the last of its kind. There's just true sadness to having to do that. But this one makes
Yeah.
more sense because they're fucking everything up. The other one, you're just like manipulated into it.
I think that is like an interesting thing that the movie can make you feel bad for him even after all of this.
I get the sense in this one, not only that he's a force of nature, but he's an animal. He's just an animal who humanity is driven from his home. Now,
except
why is
when
he
he's,
wanting
like,
to burn
ultra-
down all the buildings?
I was gonna say he's like ultra spiteful and is burning down the buildings. He's an animal, but you can be like, he's kind of being a dick.
Yeah, it's like you get bitten by a rabid pit bull. You're kind of like, we need to put this thing down.
Yeah, but it's deserved. Humanity's gone too far in a few places.
America's
like,
gone too far.
They shouldn't have bombed fucking Japan.
More people would have died if we had invaded, Adrian.
Why didn't they show the actual massacre in Oppenheimer, dude? Yeah,
I was watching that stone and I'm like, it looks like Godzilla's like ready to leave a lot of the times, and then he gets fucking hit again by like bullets or something. He's like, nope, turns back around and like destroys a full fucking bridge or like another building, and you're just like, you guys just don't know how to leave the motherfucker alone. Like, you can't.
I think that's somewhat intentional, though.
It's just funny
because the military brass in this movie, it doesn't focus too much on them and their ineptitude, but there's some contempt for the Japanese military, I feel. And I don't know how much they were demilitarized by 1954 compared to now. Because they have sort of now, I think there have been efforts under, I don't even know who the prime minister is now, Abe, the last one who got the 3D printed cyberpunk gun pulled out on him.
Yeah.
And there might have been some like more bubbling, and like we've had in every country, nationalistic tendencies to rebuild the military. But they're largely demilitarized. They have sort of a national guard sort of thing. But I don't know, is Godzilla American in this movie?
No, I just think it's general like terror of and consequences of actions. I don't think it has to be America, but I do think
I don't think it
there
has to be
is-
any one thing.
There
yeah.
is a character in Marvel canon named the American Kaiju.
Okay.
And,
That's the name of the.
He's Amerikaiju. And
Okay.
he's and like where his spines are, his skin is the color of the American flag.
Okay.
It's pretty
Right.
rad.
Okay.
Anyway, the cool thing. Damn, now I forgot what I was gonna say. It doesn't matter. The contextually, you have to think of the cheesy shit. Sci-fi in the 50s was fucking corny, and it was something you go to see and have a laugh and shit like The Blob, stuff like that, you know.
Right.
So
Well, the
this,
Blob's not even that's one of the better ones though.
I know that's the thing. Is like,
I mean, even stuff like the Blob or Them, those are the better ones.
I
And
know.
for every Forbidden Planet, you got 10 movies that Cinemasker would talk about.
I know. And so for this to be as brutal and dark and devastating as it is, it must have been insanely terrifying at the time. And like you even get that scene where in a normal conventional movie, probably these characters would have gotten out of harm's way, but you have a mom and her daughter and they're crying and she just says, "We're going to see daddy soon." It's like there's no follow-up. It's like they're fucking done for.
Yeah, when the journalists are saying sayonara as they're falling off the tower, staying professional. Yeah, that's better than I would be at any job ever.
Yeah, that was dark as fuck.
That's awesome.
Like it was,
1950s, dude.
yeah,
That's crazy.
That was one of the darker moments in the film.
I think that's when like Justin was like, "Whoa, this is not what I expected this movie to be." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, it started out pretty crazy."
I will say any reporter or anybody that's like on the job reporting like national disasters or like monster movies that like stays there until their fucking thing's destroyed, they're always like fuck. They always rule in my mind. I'm like those guys kick ass.
Yeah, I'm a journalist, and no, like I'm not wearing a bulletproof vest.
Yeah, but you're like not Good Morning America journalist. It's like it'd be a little different. I could see like maybe like an on the grounds journalist like you would do as comparison to like fucking I don't know Al Roker. He's just like fucking. You see him just like bent down, and like the whole place is destroyed behind him, and he's in rubble. And he's like, "I'm gonna report to you guys until I can't anymore. Stay strong, America." And then it just like cuts to black and like fizzles out. We have technical issues.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Also, really
Sick.
stupid. But there's this actually really captivating footage that I saw for the first time a few months ago, and it was actual like news camcorder footage of on the streets during 9/11, and the reporter, they weren't live, but he kept reporting what he was seeing, and the camera guy and him were like running around while like rubble and like smoke is like coming across everywhere because it's 9/11, and it's really crazy that he just keeps trying to report everything he can. And meanwhile, they're like trying to help people get into buildings and stuff to like find some sort of safety and stuff. It is really captivating footage. So I was watching that, and that's fucked up because they were all okay. But the when I was watching, I was thinking, I was like, a found footage Godzilla movie like this would be sick.
Yeah, it's called Cloverfield, right?
I know, but like better than Cloverfield.
Clovermid. Cloverfield Lane's good though.
But yeah, I would. Dude, that footage is really powerful. So yeah, it's on YouTube.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I always like, yeah, that's the real hero. Fuck these cops. That's the real hero.
Al Roker is a real hero, huh?
Or he's Satan, like in the Proud Family.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys
Satan
remember
in
that
the Proud
episode.
Family? Okay.
Oh no, he
Yeah.
he has to have a competition with the main Proud girl. It's a double Dutch competition. If she loses her soul. That's a really good episode. That's the only reason why I remember it. But yeah, no, this just got me super hyped for -1. I'm probably gonna go see that this weekend instead of
It's got me hyped. I wish I had time to watch Monarch in the next 2 days. But
I'm probably gonna watch Monarch maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow.
I will say Monarch is more about the mystery of things going on. It's not really, not much about Godzilla. I mean, it is about Godzilla, but he's not like attacking shit, you know.
There's probably
No,
more
it's
limited budget.
it's the Russells going and exploring like other kaiju territory, isn't it?
Well, Kurt Russell is the contemporary, 2014 version, and his son plays the 1950s version of himself.
Word. Watching him run as an old man, I saw one scene. I was like, Kurt Russell, you're getting old, friend.
Yeah.
He's
He's supposed to be. Well, his character's supposed to be in his 80s in the show.
Oh, okay. I was like, he's running.
He's not
like,
supposed to be an action star in the show.
I'm just saying, it was like,
and he's 72 in real life.
Okay, sorry guys. Maybe I thought he should be in better shape. He
explains it
into like fucking baby skulls for adrenochrome. You think that might help?
Okay. Well, it's funny. And it's like, yeah, this is like a fantastic movie, for the 50s, it does have some silly plotting. And it's really funny to me when the reporter tries to talk to Serizawa, and Serizawa's like, I don't know anything. And he's like pushing him away. And then literally the next scene, Emiko goes and like, what are you working on? And he's like, okay, I shall show you what I'm working on.
But it's a promise. And then the bitch keeps the promise. I'm like, why did you do that? But then it's like I guess she thought it was a WMD and could lead to the destruction of Tokyo. Like it would kill everybody. It's very for the plot. I have a question. So there is some debate over the oxygen destroyer and how it can be used, because he was just studying oxygen generally and somehow came up with this technology. And I assume I think Oppenheimer ripped off this movie with Serizawa, but he obviously is wrestling with wanting to experiment and learn more about science and the dangers of that same technology. I almost wonder if this was the writers trying to get into the head of the Western powers that were developing this technology, which would make Godzilla Imperial Japan. I don't think so, but maybe it was at least in somebody's head partially.
Here, let me call him and ask.
Yeah, okay.
Certainly interesting though. That's I've never heard that before, but yeah. And imagine trying to get into the heads of these people that just destroyed hundreds of thousands of lives of your people with technology you didn't even know existed, and y'all are still trying to rebuild from all that, because this came out only 9 years after 45. That's crazy to think about. Like I'm trying to think of like a contemporary equivalent, like 9/11. How would you make that into like a, I don't know.
I mean, as far as natural disasters, I guess we had the Indonesian tsunami. That was terrible.
Or whatever Mount St. Helen erupted, 50 trillion years ago.
Yeah, but even that's not 50 trillion years ago.
I don't know, dude. I'm not an archaeologist. And
like adding to the tone, it's like Serizawa he tries to destroy his own research, and Ogata tries to stop him, and it's that report that he hears on the radio of like all those choir girls singing. The way that shot is really well done. They're all like lined up, and it's just really chilling, and it all feels like this big desperate cry for humanity. I like how it swells up at that point, and Serizawa's like, okay, we can use the oxygen destroyer, but I guess I'm going down with it, which is honestly pretty admirable of him, because he doesn't want it to get in the hands of the government, which is, probably wishful thinking for atomic warfare. But notes and all that.
Godzilla is just an example of government incompetence.
Yeah, and when they do go to kill Godzilla, it really takes its time down there when they're under the water and stuff, and you get to just see Godzilla just chilling down there, and maybe he's sleeping. I don't know, but he doesn't really do much.
Did they have underwater cameras back then?
Well, I don't.
How did they film that? I was wondering.
I would assume they would put it in like a metal casing with glass in front of it or something. I'm not sure how they shot that sequence.
Oh, you're not sure, Kino? Not that Kino, are we?
I gotta take this off, I guess. But,
Yeah. Also, you said that Terror of Mechagodzilla was 1974. That was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Terror of Mechagodzilla was 1975. So
idiot.
Cool.
you're not the Kino Kaiju Cowboy either.
Oh
You go
yeah,
ahead
I
and,
can name all Godzilla movies in order.
No,
So-
you obviously
Can you
couldn't.
name the books of the Bible?
Checkmate.
The fuck, you got me, dog. No.
Go ahead and
Oh,
exit the
man.
podcast. Me and Scott will go ahead and finish this up.
Man. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Genesis, Exodus, and I forget what comes after that. I don't know.
I got 4 of them: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Oh shoot!
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
You
I
think
may not
Godzilla's a Christ figure
ask your dad for me.
for these Japanese writers? For the audience, that's a joke that my dad jokes that everybody's a Christ figure in movies. Specifically, Sid from The Descendants.
It's a good bit. Your dad. That's a good bit. I like
What's
that.
funny is like
your running bit.
it was Lying Dormant was my obsession for Godzilla, and what brought it out was this stupid movie called Ready Player One, and it has a lot of faults, and it's a lot of epic Chungus Reddit moments.
For all its faults, we got fucking Mechagodzilla versus the goddamn original Gundam.
Yep, it was when Mechagodzilla came out. I was sitting in my seat and I was like, fuck, I miss Godzilla a lot. And then I went home, and like a few days later, I was like, damn, I used to be obsessed with Godzilla. What happened? And then I watched all of them in order.
You know what it did? They did the you went the Godzilla route. I went and watched all of Gundam.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
all of Gundam?
I've seen all of Gundam besides the newest shit that's come out, like the chibi shit.
That's a lot.
Yeah, dude, I spent like an entire summer watching that.
Did you see all of SD Gundam?
Yeah, I've seen everything in Gundam. It was whenever we had COVID, and I was just like sitting at home. I just throw it on. My favorite's still 84. Like the OG series fucking kills.
Yeah. Now let's watch all of Lupin the Third.
I've watched a good majority of that.
I've watched.
You
I've
also have to
watched
remember
more
I'm
than-
caught up. I'm caught up on One Piece, guys.
I've seen more Lupin the Third. Maybe we should watch. Maybe we should review Castle of Cagliostro, because that's Miyazaki's first film no one talks about, and I love it.
Or if we like Godzilla -0,
Minus
guy
one.
also, or -1, whatever the fuck it is.
-0 would be. do you know how
zero.
subtraction works?
No. It sounds cooler than -1. But this guy that directed this, he also directed a Lupin the Third.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch Lupin the First for a while.
Yeah, so if this goes well, I don't know. I mean, Caligostro would be great, but like also maybe watch something that he did.
No, I'm just throwing that out there. It's like I want to show Parker Cagliostro because she's never seen that.
Yeah,
And she's
Cagliostro's
never-
great. I
I've never
haven't seen
seen
the third.
Nausicaa either.
Oh fuck, show her.
Do we have
Nausicaa,
anything else to say about Gojira?
please.
Yeah, I could talk endlessly about all the sequels, but I'm not going to. I'll save that for a later video.
In this Lupin the First movie, Adolf Hitler is played by Mitsuru Takakoa.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of cool.
I like how you just said a name, but you still sound. I don't know. I still wonder about your politics when you say that.
He sounds like
he was storming the Capitol.
He sounds like Bobby Lee's co-host on that podcast.
Andrew Santino.
Andrew
Bobby
Santino.
Mada.
Yeah.
Bobby Mom.
Are you
Son
saying
of
Koreans and
fire.
Japanese people are the same?
Bobby Lee is whatever ethnicity you need him to be at the time for the joke. At least according to that podcast.
I do want to watch the
And Mad
short
TV.
film. I want to
Yeah.
watch the short film that he was in because he is apparently really good.
Anyway, yeah.
Death and Ramen.
This has been Godzilla 1954. Do not watch Godzilla King of the Monsters 1956 because it is highly inferior, and it actually cuts out a lot of the not just like the boardroom and war room stuff, but also just some of the banter between just different Japanese folks in different scenarios, which really depletes the world building and the connectivity of the whole film. And it's just a shame. And I wish that probably started a whole influx of, oh, okay, let's Americanize this, let's Americanize that movie, et cetera, et cetera. So really, fuck that American version. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm not sure what next week's will be because we've done almost everything on the list that I made at the beginning of the year. So we're kind of in a free fall of Kino, but
it's the holidays.
It's the holidays. I've got to watch a lot of shit that's out right now. Even if I'm not interested in some of that, like Wish, I'm going to watch it because I need to. It's good to watch some shitty shit and understand what's going on with certain companies, and I'm interested in Disney's downfall. That's kind of a well-needed kick in the groin for them. This and Marvel's flopping, I think, needed to be done. Not that the Marvels,
it's like they ordered that movie off of Wish. I cannot be the first person to think of that.
Probably not.
It's kind of weird. Their next movie is called Timu.
And it's not like, it's not like that the Marvels is worse than any other Marvel movie. It's that people are just tired of it and they want to make this an example.
Yeah, then it's too woke.
But even the Marvels, I just don't feel like watching. But I will see Wish. I'm going to see Napoleon. I'm going to see Hunger Games. I'm going to see Saltburn. And I'm going to see Godzilla all this week. So
nice. Saltburn's on my list. Godzilla's on my list. And surprisingly, the Hunger Games has got me kind of.
I see. Why not? I've got to pass. I want to see everything from this year that I can. So I'm going to do that. And then,
Saltburn's the big one I want to see, though, Godzilla.
And then
fucking Hayao Miyazaki next weekend.
That's right. We got Miyazaki coming December 8th. Yeah. That's crazy. New Miyazaki. What do you know? So we've got a lot of stuff in the works. If you're watching this, then you can go ahead and watch the Asteroid City video essay I put out because that's already out by now if you're listening to this episode. And then look forward to a few more movies this year, and then we'll do our end of year like we do every year. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.